I mean, I wish I could get more answers from insurance companies, but it's tough.
I guess the most upsetting thing is the Sanchez property and the guys moving in happened in 1 week and nobody knew anything about it. And I mean, it was like dumped on everybody. And like some people said, we come in here every Thursday, we could have even said something.
Well,
And that was the most upsetting.
It's been a recurring problem for us. I think back to the time when we started the infrastructure project in the neighborhood. We had surveyors go down and put some markings. There was no notification. Okay, we have to do better. We have to be sensitive to these type things, and we have to realize that everything that happens down here has an impact to you people, and that's our bad. I mean, but
Well,
I
it
said,
just
there's
leads
no
to speculation,
playbook.
and we got
And let me tell you how it went down. Our biggest concern was Dennis, because it was going to have a big impact on his income. These trailers cost a big chunk of dough, so I privately pulled Dennis aside and said, Dennis, we own a lot of property here. We're thinking about pulling out and maybe relocating the control center.
You asked me if I was okay with that, tell them what I said.
You said, well.
I said no.
No, if I recall, you were a gentleman.
But what I followed up with?
You said, well, that's gonna hurt me a little bit, but I'm happy for you. And I went so far as to say, Dennis, our goal is to have your business restored. And I even did not propose that when we get through here, we're gonna have a big crawfish boil or something, and invite all your old customers back and say, well, I'm back in business.
Both of them.
But
If
to
you remember, I
finish,
followed up and said, hey, I'm a big boy.
yeah.
Y'all leaving here, I know that day's coming.
Yeah.
I'm prepared for that, so,
Yeah.
hey, whatever happens, happens.
But you were a gentleman. But just to finish my point, it went from that meeting that night to the very next day, picking up the phone, talking to Mike, Will, and others, and say, okay, I think we're okay with Dennis. My bad for not realizing that others would sense that. And I honestly thought of you, but what I thought about was, are they going to be inconvenienced because now they're not going to be able to walk over to the command center for meetings? Because a lot of you folks walk in from your homes. So we were thinking of you. We just weren't thinking in the terms that you described. So, we're not perfect.
I mean, we're not gonna be sad to see y'all go, I'm gonna tell y'all right now.
That hurts.
I would
That
love to
hurts.
see this place back to like it was.
And it can be. It can be. I'm an optimist, and I'm confident
I
that
used to be an optimist.
this problem will not last forever. It won't last forever. Look at the data. We're getting ahead of it.
And I'm not 20 years old anymore either, so. How long,
Have you, those wells that are declining, are you sure that the screens aren't blocked?
Yes. I mean, we still go around and do our routine water removal. We're still going to rig up on some of them and see if we can enhance gas flow by pulling the head down, reducing the head. I mean, just because they're dormant now doesn't mean that they don't have some future utility. But what you look at in a gas well is you look at a trend. A clogged up perf or something like that generally occurs like that. It can. These are trends. These are depletion trends. These are gas pressures and pockets that are depleting. And that's what gives us encouragement. That's what leads us to conclude that we're going to get this thing done. And in my heart of hearts, I really do believe there's going to be a significant portion of people, maybe you're one of them, Nick, I hate to single you out, but there's going to be some people that are going to look back and say, there's still a lot of folks living down there. I love that little place. I don't know why I left.
Well, I'll always know why. I'll always know. Now, the pressure wells, are they still maintaining pressure?
Look at the red lines on all of these producing wells. They're trending down.
I'm talking about the pressure
There
wells.
are some wells. There are some pressure monitoring wells that still remain elevated. But for the life of me, I don't understand how anybody can say that they can understand what those wells are saying when you have a water column in a well that moves up to 2 or 3 feet a day. So in our view, and we argued this, we haven't been formally told the argument is bad, but our view is there's no value in a bunch of pressure monitoring wells. What determines the end is when the gas is no longer produced, and that's our basis. So what we offered as an alternative was subsequent CPTs where we can go in and look and see if gas zones are depleted or minimized.
So when you're doing CPTs?
Well, we're waiting until we finish the dewatering, because we don't want the dewatering testing to impact the outcome of the CPTs. We want the CPTs to come in where we can select areas where we've had 1 or 2 ORWs that are done, and we can punch a CPT and say, confirmed, no gas. Go back to the record where, 6 months ago, we had a CPT in the same area, and we had a 3-foot column. That's the kind of information we're looking for. But we want to do it incrementally, and we want to get the dewatering testing completed before we start that process.
All right. We're
Would the
talking about bubble.
CPTs still show a significant amount of gas?
Then our work's not done. But what if the CPTs show some gas and all the surrounding ORWs are unable to produce? Is our job complete? We've already had some pretty smart folks say that about a third of the gas is probably going to stay in the water, dissolved, and it'll eventually disperse. So there is some possibility that we will never get all of the gas. And we may find ourselves putting CPTs down and seeing reductions, but not total eliminations. I think the bigger picture is, what are the producing wells doing? Have we depleted them? Have we taken them down to the extent that they're no longer able to produce gas? In our view, once we've accomplished that, whatever risk existed for homeowners here is essentially gone.
My question to DNR would be, if this gas is down there and 51 wells, only about 10% of them are working now, you said?
Well,
If we can't suck it up, how long are we gonna keep trying versus just saying it's not coming up? If we can't suck it up, why are we so worried about it coming up on its own?
Because fact is, because it hasn't come up last year or last month in a concentration enough to where somebody gets hurt, or a house, we have an explosion or a fire, doesn't mean it won't be tomorrow or next week.
Why not
There's
just
too
go
much
to
gas.
some kind of monitoring mode then?
That's
And
not
then
enough.
start
That-
things back up
That
again.
gas is not supposed to be there. From DNR's perspective, it's gotta be drawn down to a point where there is some consensus.
Patrick, with all due respect,
Safe.
I'm not going to argue with you for a minute.
Yeah.
The gas in the ground is natural. Would you agree?
Define natural.
It's swamp gas. There's mixes of thermogenic and biogenic. Not every molecule in the grass or in the gas in the ground out here is the result of our sinkhole. What you just said implies that it is. At some point, folks are going to have to realize, I've got gas under my ground, but I live in an area that naturally produces gas. I'm not all that concerned about it.
Up to a point, but there's more gas there than occurred naturally.
Can I suggest something to people? I've seen this. How many pages did you say that thing was? From the Blue Ribbon Committee? 162. Well, I've read that for the last 2 or 3 months, okay, and earlier versions of it. There are other people in this room who've also seen it. And it's just been sent to John, and presumably Texas Brine must have just got a copy of it.
We haven't seen it.
All right, you haven't seen it yet.
I don't get it.
We got it.
Obviously,
I just got it
if,
today, so.
obviously, if there was total agreement, it wouldn't take 162 pages to say, yes, we agree. Now, I'm not at liberty, it's not my role, I'm not gonna attempt to say, that's not what the point is. But obviously, the answer is not, yes, we agree with everything. So there's gonna be a lot that, the questions that we have are sort of in there.
Look,
And
when this first,
it's gonna take all parties a substantial period of time to kind of resolve what is gonna happen.
And back early in the
I would
process,
just suggest we don't all wring our hands about this.
back
We'll never
early in the
get done.
process of the Blue Ribbon Commission, Texas Brine agreed that they would abide by whatever the Blue Ribbon Commission came up with. That report, by design, went from the Blue Ribbon Commission to Secretary Schutz, Commissioner Wells, John Boudreaux, and Kevin Davis. That's the first step. That's who the Blue Ribbon Commission reports to. the next step is for that to go out to all the other agencies and then to Texas Brine. I don't know the time frame. But the Blue Ribbon Commission has taken everything that Texas Brine has proposed, everything that our own experts have input into the system, and the Blue Ribbon Commission on the gas side has come up with, this is it. And the governor appointed the Blue Ribbon Commission, and Texas Brine agreed in the early stages that they would abide by the direction. So that's where we are.
Hey, Don, let me make a comment on that. Early on, I was the one that committed to Secretary Schutz, we would follow the BRC. I also, though, asked if Texas Brine could have a seat at the table, not as a voting member, but to listen and hear everything saying, because we have such a wealth of data. I've been told on probably not less than 4 occasions, we would not. It would not be allowed. All I ask for is transparency.
And the transparency is that the Blue Ribbon Commission has taken all the information, all the data from all the sources, and they've come up as, you know, the best minds in the business that have the experience from salt domes and rock mechanics and gas migration, and they've come up with what they consider to be the path forward to protect your lives and to protect your liberty, being able to be released from this evacuation order and to get back to the pursuit of happiness of what y'all had before this started. That's in the Declaration of Independence, and it's also what we're doing. We're protecting lives.
Why wouldn't y'all let them be on what he's asking? Why wouldn't y'all let them have a seat on that table, not as a voting member? You know, it almost seems like, I mean, y'all have drawn this line.
No, I think the governor wanted it to be as independent as possible. And in the discussion of that, the members were selected, and if you recall, also at that time, they asked to have a community member as well, and that's when originally J.C. Chamberlain was the original community member, and then Bob came in later on in the process. I'm not sure how in August. So it was selected by the governor to be an independent committee to evaluate and to provide assistance to us and GOSEP as the coordinating agencies to bring in these experts. And they have, and it's been a long time. They've been working quite some time gathering data as well as going over some of the proposals that Texas Brine has made, and now the gas side has produced their report, and the stability side is going to have one forthcoming. And like I said, I just got it today, and I just started to review it. I'll report it to the police jury this next week, so I invite everyone to come to that. And we are going to start meeting in the next week or so with all the regulatory agencies, not just DNR, but all the rest of the regulatory agencies, and they can all provide input of their part of that report, and that'll be the path forward.